I figure you have seen me in my bra, so now you can see me in my pajamas. Hello and welcome to Make a Little. My name is Taylor, and if this is the first time you're seeing me, I am a longtime crocheter, first-time knitter, and just huge lover of all things art and music. We're getting a little cozy today, a little cozy project vlog. And if you're anything like me, what's more cozy than giving yourself an extreme deadline? Yeah. If you watched my Everything I Made in 2025 video, you know that I made the Nordic mix by Laura Delgard. And if you saw that video, you also know that I completely screwed it up and it was way too small. It was actually originally made for my boyfriend and now it barely fits me. But we are trying again because I promised my boyfriend this sweater. And so come along with me as I try to re-knit the Nordic mix in the correct size. Now you're probably wondering, what's with the big deadline? Like, obviously, he's your boyfriend. It could be any time you want. But my boyfriend runs really hot. And so the idea of him having a 100% wool sweater in his wardrobe, it's probably not going to get a lot of wear. And we're already in January. On top of that, we actually have an international trip to Japan scheduled. Our flights leave January 31st. We are hoping to do a ton of hiking, a ton of walking around, and I think if I can complete this by then, he can wear it as an outer layer and won't have to wear another jacket, which is great because we only have so much room in our suitcase. So I have already started it. In fact, I cast this project on, I want to say December 26th, right after Christmas, in a panic. And I mean, I've gotten decently far. You can kind of see. This is a tube. As I mentioned in my previous video, the way that this is constructed is you knit it up as a tube, just completely, and then you steek the sleeves. If you watched my last video, you also know what happened to the sleeves. But I have a lot more faith this time and a lot less hubris. We are going to watch a YouTube video again before we steek the sleeves of this thing. But it is January 4th right now. It's godlike. 7 p.m. I am actually waiting for my hour-long Everything I Knit in 2025 video to render so that I can hit the publish button on the YouTube interface and go live. So I'm a little energetic, we'll say, and I figured what better way to spend my time than to channel my energy into this. So if you did the math right, you know we have only a couple of weeks before we leave for our trip, and I really, really, really want to finish this before then. So that's what we're going to do. I'll check in occasionally as I make some progress on this, and thanks for sticking around and trying to help me stick to my goals. See you soon. If anyone was curious, I know I always am about all the knitters that I follow. I knit English style. I have tried to knit continental style, but I think I've really just settled on the fact that I don't really care if I'm fast. Like, I'm not really interested in being the speediest knitter in the world. I just really like knitting. Like, the process of knitting really is the best thing in the world to me. So it's not so important to me whether or not I'm any quicker. And actually, I find that continental style knitting is not as good for knitting color work. I knit a lot of color work, so again, that's purely subjective. If you knit continental and you knit continental color work and you love it, I love that for you. Actually, it's something I really loved about crochet that I wish I'd see a little bit more in knitting, but I feel like the crochet community is very open to the idea of doing things your own way and everybody kind of finding the best way to do things. Kind of being a little bit more experimental with the rules. And while I think that I'm seeing more and more knitters kind of play around a little more, I do wish that I would see a little less of people claiming there's one faster or better way to knit. Because honestly, trying to learn to knit continental kept me from knitting. And once I finally let myself try to learn the less good version of it, I started to figure it out. Although even just saying that now, that might just be a me problem. I mean, I am somebody that really hates doing things if I'm not kind of immediately good at them. See, if you watched my first YouTube video, you know then that was pretty painful for me. But I'm getting a little, as I approach 30, I think I'm just getting better and better at embracing my own embarrassing self and just sort of enjoying the ride while I'm here. Like, who cares if nobody likes the fact that I dress in bright colors or smile reflexively all the time, or as one judge of a mock trial competition once told me, if I click at the end of my sentences like that. At this point, I kind of am who I am. And I'm generally happy with that. Except for when you watch, 25 hours of yourself as you edit a YouTube video. I mean, I'll put a couple of them in here because I found them so funny, but there is not a single frame of that video where I don't look absolutely freaking crazy. So enjoy some of the least flattering photos of me I've ever seen, and grab your own project. Join me in embracing everything about yourself, including the ugly parts. I was taught to do color work. I was taught to really stretch out my floats to kind of avoid any of those weird little tension spots. So that's what I'm doing right now. Is it weird that I was a little self-conscious about posting myself just straight up knitting? Kept thinking, oh God, what if everybody sees that I screw up all the time? What if everybody sees that I'm not very fast? But then I thought, at least I'm doing it. Also, at this point, I mean, nobody can make me feel worse than a pair of DPNs at the beginning of my knitting career ever did, so. Okay, so it is January 7th. I'm here with a quick little update on how the Nordic mix is going. I have been kind of knitting on and off on this for the last couple of days, and you can kind of see where we are in our progress. It's looking pretty nice. It looks like I have about 20 more rows before I'm done with the body, and then I will start the neckline, and finally we'll move on to the sleeves. I am hoping to get at least a little bit of knitting done today, and I will check back in with my progress this evening. So, it's time. Today is January 10th, and it is finally time to steek. I am probably at the point of this pattern that I think is the most fun, where it almost kind of looks like a pillowcase. And we are finally gonna steek for the sleeves. I am a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but I did look up some tutorials again, just to make sure I'm doing this right. A huge shout out to Norman from Nimble Needles. I found his video extremely helpful. I'll pop it in over here and I'll link it down below in case anybody else is looking to steek. It's a very thorough look at it, and I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. So I have a crochet hook. I have a little bit of scrap wool, and here we go. So Norman describes this a lot better than me, and I think is actually a knitting teacher. So if you wanted to learn, I would really recommend you listen to him and not to me. But because you've clicked onto this video, I'll just generally describe what it is that I'm doing, as long as you guys promise not to take this as advice, because as I explained in my 2025 video, I actually don't know what I'm doing. But generally, I am crocheting basically a row of slip stitches from that kind of middle portion of this steek hole. And this was something I actually did not do. Oops, I did not do last time I knit the Nordic mix, because I had watched another tutorial that was still very good, but didn't have this little element to it. And when I was watching Norman do this, I thought to myself, that makes a lot of sense, that you would kind of crochet up to the point that you were looking to reinforce, and not just straight into the top stitch of that kind of like central line that you're hoping to steek. Okay. So after I get to about that point, I'm going to kind of pick a line to be my center here. I think it'll be this one right here. So I'll do one more stitch then. And basically, with that line that I've selected as sort of my center, which is going to be this one right here, I will crochet into each stitch, picking just one leg of that stitch and crocheting it to another leg of the stitch right next to it. I'm just going to do that all the way up the steek.
I'm really channeling Norman here, because as he said many times in his video, steeking is supposed to be easy. So here I am proving to you, hopefully, that it's actually quite simple and that you shouldn't be afraid of it. Am I being a little hypocritical because I am a little afraid of it? Perhaps. But that's okay. We can do scary things and we can do them together. So if you have a project that you've been sitting on that you would like to try steeking, but you're a little too nervous, pop on Norman to do it. But you could also do it with me. I think my issue with steeking is that when I'm looking at it from the top, I start to kind of create like an invisible stitch line, which obviously, if each leg of the stitch has two different colors, it can't have been a single stitch. But my brain kind of just defaults it into a single stitch. And then I kind of start to question myself, like, oh, maybe I'm actually in the wrong spot. But looking at this all looks like it's working, which is very exciting. Though I guess we won't actually know until I cut it. But you can see I'm just crocheting up kind of a straight line. Hopefully. Well, actually, now I'm a little paranoid and I feel like I have to check it, but yeah. Yeah, no, that looks pretty straight, actually. That looks pretty straight. From what I understand, you can also do this with a sewing machine, but I do not have a sewing machine, so I'm just gonna have to make do with a crochet hook. Just kind of feel like going back to my roots. As I have mentioned before, I started with crochet and not knitting. So I'm particularly comfortable, I would say, with using a crochet hook. This does kind of make me want to crochet again. It's fun. It's a great hobby. If you haven't picked up crocheting, if you're a knitter and maybe you're a little like me and kind of just want to do every hobby you can possibly think of, I really recommend crochet. It's funny, a lot of knitters I hear think that crochet is harder than knitting, and a lot of crocheters think that knitting is harder than crochet. I was definitely in the camp of thinking that knitting was harder than crochet. It took me much, much longer to learn. But both are just so fun. Both are so rewarding. Okay, you see that one was a little tight there, I think, because I had to seam up the shoulders right there. You do seam the shoulders in this pattern. Oh, I lost my stitch. Just pull it and save it. There we go. Okay, I think I've made it to the top. It's kind of hard to tell in this pattern because you seam it up, but I think that's right. So we're going to cut the yarn for this steek stitch. And then where I think I went wrong in the past is that you actually have to do the other one in the opposite direction, which I think what I ended up doing was making them in the same direction, which obviously doesn't actually reinforce them the same way. So again, I'm going to say it again because I think it's important. I am not a knitting teacher. I'm not qualified to teach you how to knit in any way, but if you just want to follow along with what I'm doing, again, I'm kind of popping that crochet hook in just a couple of stitches away from the top of the place I want to steek. And again, that's just a Norman tip. I like that idea, even if I'm not completely sure if it will work exactly the way I'd like it to. And that's just to reinforce it a little bit more. And I think he also mentioned it's just for aesthetics as well. And I'm all about that. So then we're going to start crocheting into those adjacent legs of the stitch again, just all the way down, but in the opposite direction. And I think that that directional component is very important for this. I learned the hard way. I can't teach, but I can say don't do it like that. And we'll just crochet all the way down here. Yeah, I think that actually looks right, because here, once I get a couple more stitches, I'll show you what it looks like. And you can see this was usually a good sign, because even in my original Nordic mix, while I did screw up the first sleeve, the second sleeve went fine. And this is what I remember the second sleeve looking like while I was steeking it. Do you see how in between those stitches, there's kind of like a ladder? Like, it doesn't look like a whole other stitch. It just looks like sort of the ladder, I would say, down in there. That to me makes me think I'm doing this right. Again, you'll learn in real time here. Well, not quite, but you'll learn whether or not I was right, or if I just think a little highly of my ability to follow tutorials. So if you do have your project ready next to you to steek, maybe wait like 10 more minutes to see whether or not mine actually turns out before you start. But I do think this is a technique you should try. Like, if you haven't tried this before, and it's not because like you're not interested in any patterns that have steeking, as opposed to like you're just a little nervous about it, I recommend trying it, especially on like a low stakes project. I honestly, once I kind of get into the flow of it, I find it kind of fun. And the results, if done correctly, I think end up looking really nice and are just so useful, because I much prefer to knit in the round for the most part. And this just makes it so much easier to knit in the round, even for stuff you, it just makes it so much easier to knit stuff in the round, even if you're knitting something like a cardigan. So I would recommend giving it a go. You might see, I really don't know how much detail you're going to be able to get with my camera, but you might see that sometimes my stitches are not different colored legs. And that's just because I screwed up this part of the pattern a little bit, because you don't really see it, right, when you eventually cut it. And so I'm not usually paying as close attention when I get to these stitches. And so occasionally you'll see I forgot to alternate the colors a little bit. And as far as I know, that doesn't have any real impact on the steek, but I just thought I'd point it out because, again, I'm not a teacher, so I wouldn't follow along with this as a guide. So that's all I'm saying, because there are a lot of mistakes, and I think it would be hard to tell what exactly it is that led to the outcome that I got. Okay, we're getting close to the end here though. It's exciting. Let's see, and I don't even know what this is. Looks like maybe just a bad stitch. We're gonna go through it and hope for the best. I think it'll be okay. It'll probably be okay, hopefully. So the thing I do like about this pattern is that you make this kind of like little hole here, and that's where you start cutting. So that's at least a little intuitive. And actually, I'm probably not going to use these ones. I'm a little nervous about that. We'll use my smaller ones to kind of actually cut the steek here. But in theory, if I cut just right down the middle here, God, I really need like some fabric scissors or something. I'm not totally sure. What do you use to steek with if you steek? It sort of feels like it should be really, really sharp, like little scissors, you know? I don't know. We're going slow. So far, it looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. My nerves are waning a little bit. Oh man, I gotta say, my hands are so steady right now, and I think it's because my partner and I actually went to a loose leaf tea shop today. There aren't very many around us, so we had to drive kind of far, but the woman behind the counter was like so incredible. She spoke with us for probably 30 minutes about how to properly steep green tea. I feel like I learned so much. So Serenity Moon Tea, if you're ever in the Kent area, 100% recommended. I just had like the best cup of green tea in my life. And I think it's helping. It's helping my nerves here. Okay. Okay. It's still looking good. Slow, slow and steady. Okay, last couple stitches here. Okay. Oh my gosh. I think it worked. Thank you, Norman. Wow, that actually looks really beautiful. That might be the neatest steek I've ever made. There are all sorts of ways to reinforce this too. I know you can try to kind of felt it, that sort of thing. I probably will just kind of give it a little, I know this won't felt it, but just kind of give it a little rub, make sure it's pretty sticky. Luckily, Drops Alaska is pretty sticky. So if you are doing this with Drops Alaska, you're probably going to be okay. There we go. One down, one more to go. I'll probably show you a little bit of footage of me doing the second one, but just not in quite so much detail. But we are officially steeked. One sleeve down. Awesome. Hi all. So it is January 13th. It is about 6:30 p.m. and I just got back from work, so I figured I'd give you a little update on my progress. Here's where we're at. You can see I've gotten about half of this first sleeve done. So I still have to finish up the sleeve, and then I have to cast on and knit the entirety of the second sleeve. But I am feeling pretty optimistic. I just got back from work, and so I figured instead of rotting on the couch for a little while, I should pick up my knitting and at least try to make a little progress. It's honestly kind of where the name of this channel came from. With my incredibly demanding job and just sort of everything you have to do in the modern world, I always found myself being really disappointed in how much I was able to make because it was never very much. You can watch me knit too. It was never very much, and it was really hard to prioritize art when I had so many other demands in my life. And so this channel kind of serves as a reminder to me too, to just try to make a little. Like maybe you can't make a ton. Maybe you can only have a little doodle in the middle of a work meeting, or you only have time to knit a couple of rows in a night, or you only have time to play one song on your guitar. But I think that's still a worthy pursuit. I think there's nothing wrong with making at least a little. I always feel better creating instead of consuming. And even though I don't have a lot of time, it's always better to make a little than not make anything at all. And so it's nice to have this sort of something to hold me accountable to that, right? I can say it as much as I want, but even if just one person watches my video, I know they will be waiting for me to make a little. And it just makes it seem so much more necessary in my life. So I will probably be knitting for at least a little bit tonight, 30 minutes or so before I get a little too tired. And I'm hoping to maybe get closer to finishing the sleeve, but we'll see how far I get. There are about 3 weeks until I leave for my trip, so this again seems very attainable. I just have to find the time and really commit to getting it off my needles. So it's done. We have completed the knitting on the second Nordic mix. Sorry, I'm whispering a little bit because my boyfriend is literally playing video games with his friends. I can hear him in the audio a little bit. At least he's having fun. But we are done. It is January 22nd. It is 8 p.m. and we are almost done with this sweater. So I'm going to start blocking it tonight. I literally just cast it off. I am going to pull out my blocking mats and you can come along with me while I block this thing and hopefully it will. But we just cast it off of my needles. It is ready. I had him try it on and it basically fits him. It's a little tight in the shoulders, but I think we can block that out. So come on. So there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is it's all dry. The sleeves fit well now, and the length is good, but unfortunately it still doesn't quite fit. It looks like the problem areas are specifically longer down the sleeves and like right along the chest here. So I'm hopeful that I can just block it out, but it won't be before I have to publish this video. So there's sort of like a lack of reveal here. Like, does it fit? Not yet, but I'm really hoping that it will pretty soon. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very frustrated with this. I kind of crashed out about this today. I just don't understand. Given the measurements in this pattern, this thing should have been like 2 or 3 sizes bigger than it is. Like, I gauge swatched, I'm using the proper yarn. I don't know what it is that I'm doing. I did notice when I was like frantically scrolling Ravelry that some people do say that it ends up kind of small on them, but there are also people that say it ends up too big. So I don't know what it is. Maybe just a really particular gauge or something. A really particular tension, but it's quite frustrating, and I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to look at this thing right now. So after having a crisis of confidence, after casting on like a project in the interim because I was just so frustrated, I think I've got one more trick up my sleeves to try and see if we can get this thing to fit. So come along with me, I guess. I've got like one more trick up my sleeve to try and make this thing fit, so we're gonna try. I don't know, I don't have a lot of hope. Like, for continuity's sake, it crossed my mind for a single second to be like, what if I just told everybody it worked? But I realized that's just like me desiring to feel above reproach in all things, and like that's just not the reality. Like, this sweater, I don't know what it is, but it is giving me so much trouble. I promise you, I gauge swatched for this, and I'm looking at the measurements and the pattern for what this size is supposed to be, which is, I believe, the double XL. I think this is the biggest size that they have, and the measurements don't even make sense. Like, they're not even adding up. I'm off by like multiple inches in multiple places, and I don't know what it is that I'm doing wrong. The weight, the yarn weight is right, but in the spirit of transparency, here we are. We're at another failure, and that doesn't feel good from like a storytelling or a linear perspective, but I think it's realistic. and I think it's accurate. Like, not every project you make is going to work, and I don't know what I'm going to need to do to finally knit my boyfriend a sweater, but maybe I need to investigate some patterns that are specifically made for like masculine bodies. I thought about that when I was knitting this and like picking this project up, and there are a lot of people on Ravelry that have knit this for like men in their lives, but I've noticed that a lot of the men that this pattern fits are a little slighter or don't quite have as broad of a chest, and I think that's really causing the problems for me. But I still don't understand why this size that should be like multiple sizes above his clothing size still is not fitting. I don't know, maybe it's that the fabric's thick or something, but it's been really frustrating. I've been really frustrated, and I hate concluding a project vlog like this, but again, I think it's just realistic. Like, you don't always succeed, right? So we're gonna try one more big block. I'll take you along for that so you can at least see the process, like what I'm thinking to try to troubleshoot this. And I might just have to follow up with like a short or like something quick on my Instagram to let you know how it worked out, because the day that I'd like to publish this is not the day we leave, right? I still have 5 more days here. Work has just been an absolute nightmare, so I don't think I'm gonna have a ton of extra time to do anything drastic, right? Like, I'm not gonna be able to reknit any portion of this, or I don't know, perform some emergency sweater surgery or something, but at the very least we can try to block it again, and I guess if it's successful, you're just gonna have to follow along later. Like, I'll try to send an update or something. I know you can post on YouTube, I just don't know how to do it yet. So anyways, thanks so much for coming along on this journey. I'm sorry it's not the most satisfying ending, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes your hobbies are not perfect, and sometimes they cause you a little bit of stress too. So we're gonna try to block it again. I'll put up a box fan, so you know, maybe there will be a clip in after this where I, you know, redeem myself, but we're at a low point right now, folks. We're at a low point. So here it is, the Nordic mix by Laura Delgard, in the only form I got so far. So it didn't work. It didn't work. And I had a bit of a crash out about it again. It's here. It just, I don't know what happened, but it just doesn't work. It's not gonna fit. And there's no real way I can block it in time for this trip. And obviously I can't reknit any part of it, so it's just not gonna work. And it was revealing, I think, in a lot of ways. I think I poured a lot into this sweater. I think I poured a lot of general malaise in my life into this sweater. I had my boyfriend try it on again, see, there's still issues. I really don't think there's any way that this thing is going to fit him. And I kind of broke down a little bit and was just really upset by it. Really was trying to figure out, where I went wrong, how I failed at it, what it was that was not going to lead to a successful project here. And he kind of had a heart-to-heart with me. And I think he's just seen something in the last couple of weeks that I wasn't really able to, being in it. And he said, "Taylor, I think you're in burnout." And it was like I needed somebody to say it to know that it was true. I never really wanted to talk about my personal life in this channel. I never wanted to talk about my other job, except for just to say that it was a lot, and knitting is kind of a solace from that lot. And I'm still not going to get into any big details or anything, but I have been in burnout now for probably 2 years. I have been working since I was 15 years old. I have 3 degrees. And I would say I consistently work 60 to 80 hours a week, something like that. And I'm really proud of what I do. I generally like the substance of it. And I'm also just really worried that it's not sustainable. I thought about just like cutting it all out, making this big joke like, "Oh, it didn't work. Like, sorry, I guess maybe I'll knit this again." Will I knit this again? I don't know. I don't know if I can do this one a third time, but I think something that I find that is missing a lot from content that I consume, at least, is a certain kind of transparency and a certain kind of concealing when things go wrong. Like, some of my favorite knitters make mistakes and really openly talk about them, or aren't always successful and really openly talk about it. And so while this was never the video I was intending to make, like, this deviates so far from the plan, I think it's important that I still put it out there. I'm a beginner knitter. Like, I'm gonna come across failure a lot. I have come across failure a lot in this hobby, in this art. And I think I'm okay with it. Like, I realized how much joy I get out of the process of knitting. And obviously, I enjoy when a project turns out well. Like, that's awesome. But I think there's something also really meaningful to me about not succeeding at this. Like, I think this sweater is gonna be something that I'm gonna look at a lot when I'm feeling, down about my knitting or about my job or whatever else I might be feeling. And just remember that, like, I did knit this. I did knit it, and I knit it in like a month, right? And even if it doesn't fit, even if it's not perfect, it's evidence that I'm still creative. It's evidence that I'm still an artist, even after letting my job take so much creativity away from me. I mean, the name of the channel is Make a Little. It's not produce a little or produce a lot or make a bunch of sweaters. It's all about maintaining artistry and creativity in my life. That was the entire purpose of this channel. That's still the purpose of this channel. And I have had more fun in the last month working on this, something that is entirely intrinsically motivated. Nobody in my life is like, "We really want you to be a YouTuber," or like, "We're watching your metrics to figure out whether or not you're going to be a good YouTuber. Like that, it's purely motivated by me. And I have had such a hard time in my life motivating myself, like purely internally motivating myself to do the things that I care about. And so, again, this wasn't what I was thinking my first project vlog was going to be. This wasn't where I thought this video was going. But I think it's a watershed moment for me, and I just want to capture it. And I want to put it out there because I can't be the only person that's failed at a project. I can't be the only person that has realized the trade-off sometimes between art and life. And this isn't going to stop me. It isn't going to stop me. I'm going to keep doing this because I love it. And I think there's something powerful in that for me. So all that to say, I have another sweater. I knit this with my hands, and it doesn't fit my boyfriend, and he won't be taking it to Japan. But I'm going to be knitting him a sweater. It's not going to be this one. I don't know if I can knit this one again for a while. And maybe I'll wear this one again, because honestly the first one is even a little small for me. So maybe this is the right one. But I think all that to say, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed, and I'm also proud of myself. And I think what I learned more than anything in these last 3 weeks is that I just like doing this. And I think that's enough for me. I don't have to be amazing at it. I don't have to be perfect at it. I've finally gotten to a point in my life where I don't care if people see me fail. And in fact, I think it's necessary that people see me fail. And so all that's to say, the Nordic mix, still my mortal enemy. Still the project that I, to this day, have not correctly knit. And yet, this one was better than the first one. Maybe in a couple years, I'll revisit it and I'll knit a third, and that one will be the perfect one. But it's about the journey. It's about the process. I still loved knitting it. And so it's not really a failure in the end, at least for me. So all that to say, don't let your missteps define you. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy getting there. Remember that you're a person and an artist and a creative before you are an employee. And go out and make a little. That's all I can say. Go out and make a little. Thank you all so much for being here. I can't believe how many people are here. I say this all the time. I know the numbers are nothing in the grand scheme of social media or content creation or anything like that, but it is still so meaningful to me that I am doing something I've always wanted to do in a way that I've always wanted to do it. And there's like 20 of you that are following along. That feels absolutely amazing to me, and it means the world. And so I guess with that, all I can say is have a great evening or a great morning or a great wherever you may be. And I'll see you next time. Bye.